I like that.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is Sahavas for everyone. Today is Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. And tonight we have a very special guest, Naosherwan Anzar, and I guess sometimes Nalavala. You can explain that also, the two names. But let's get started with a couple of quick questions and then go deeper. Let's start at the beginning, Naosherwan. You and I have known each other quite a few years. I met you first when I was 17, and I used to come to your house in New Jersey. I remember you and Gene Ludwig and some others had Baba meetings, and I was so happy because I knew absolutely nothing, and you all seem to know everything. But let's start from the beginning for you. Where were you born, and what year was that?
I was born in Dehradun, which is about 150 miles from New Delhi, in the foothills of the Himalayas. And I was born in 1946. And that was the year when I first met Meher Baba, when I was 2 months old.
That's what I want to hear next. That's a perfect segue. And I believe we can say Dehradun has a special place in Baba's heart during the new life, right? Do you want to mention that also?
That's
How
right.
did you first learn about Meher Baba, and what's Baba's connection with Dehradun?
Baba visited Dehradun several times, starting from 41 and onwards. And then when he came there, he came very often to contact musts and was in seclusion most of the time. And my father got instructions from him to help him out with some of the must work, but he never got to see him. My father never got to see him. So it's a little interesting how he did. So once he came at the invitation of the Mandli, my father was invited to meet with Baba, but apparently when Baba was asked whether he would see anyone, he said, "No, I'm in seclusion." But he permitted Papa Jasawala, who was Dheeraj Jasawala's father, to let my father get a glimpse of him. So Papa Jasawala opened the curtain and my father saw him for the very first time in the 40s. And that very moment, my father was always a very devout Zoroastrian. So when he saw Baba, he saw Meher Baba as Zoroaster. The Zoroastrianism is the oldest religion, recorded religion, and Zoroaster was considered the first prophet among the avatars. So that was his first meeting, and then I'll just continue talking about Baba coming to Dehradun.
Yeah.
So then he sent a message to our family in 1946 that he was
instead of black.
that he was planning that he wanted to come to Dehradun, and that along with 4 disciples, and he gave instructions. He would always give instructions to the women who were going to cook for him, and very specific instructions. He would ask for dal and rice, and he would tell the women to keep their hair tied, and so that the hair wouldn't fall into the food. And so these were strict instructions given to my mother. And my mother had never seen Meher Baba. So this was her first darshan. And I was 2 months old at that time. So when somebody asks me, when did you come to Meher Baba, I always invariably say, I never came to Meher Baba came to me. And that was in 1946.
I love that.
So he then picked me up in his arms and walked around for nearly nearly 3.5, 4 hours when he had lunch and spent time with the family, with my sister, with my mother, with my father. And once I was giving a talk and somebody said that, oh, he wasn't carrying you around, he was actually cooking you. So that's how people felt that when he walked around with me.
Cooking, like making a meal out of you?
No, just cooking me, preparing me. That's what he said. This was at a Baba meeting somewhere. So that was a funny little remark by one of the Baba wags.
Do you feel well cooked by Baba?
Yes. So that was many years later when it time for me to publish a book. I published this one, In Lap of Love. Can you all see it?
Yeah, if you hold it
Yeah.
right there, that's a good spot.
Yeah. So and Baba sent the first message for the book, which I published in the book. And this was the picture, and the message says, God does not read what your pen writes, he hears what your heart sings. So this was a collection of poems that I wrote over a period of time since I was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then it was published when I was 19. And Baba signed the first copy and sent it back to me, the first
That's
copy.
awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so based on that, I need to have a follow-on question, because now it's more clear that since you were so small when you first met Baba, what was your first conscious memory of, oh, this is Meher Baba? Like, what if you go back in your memory, what was the first impression you have of being with Baba?
Between the age of 2 months when I first saw Meher Baba, and then 5 years old, there was a tremendous incident that happened in my life. What happened was that when I was small, not very small, I would say about 3.5, 4 years old, very conscious of everything around me, I developed a skin ailment, a very severe skin ailment that eventually was diagnosed as life-threatening, and my parents were very, very worried about whether I would survive. And the women Mandli were in Dehradun at that time. So this would be about 5, I would say, the period of the new life. And just before that, when they had come, so my mother and my father consulted Gohar. And she said, well, I really can't suggest what we can do, but why don't you consult some doctors? And then when Baba comes, he was at that time traveling on his tours. When Baba comes, we will ask him as to what should be done. So my parents, of course, took me to some doctors and so forth, but nothing seemed to have helped. And then Baba came, and Gohar asked Baba, Mani and Keki. My father's name was Keki. My mother's name was Freni. So they said Freni and Keki's little boy has this terrible skin ailment. And they tried out several different doctors, but it's just not working for them. And they're very, very concerned. So Baba said, ask them to come over. So my parents went to Baba. And Baba always, whatever instructions he had to give or a question he had to ask, he would always do in threes, always in threes. So he said, Gohar has told me about your little boy, Naosherwan. Now, you've tried out Baba always emphasized going to doctors, always. And then if you came back and said that, Baba, we've tried out several different doctors, but nothing seems to work, then he would come up with a remedy. So in this case, they had tried several doctors. And so he came back and Baba said, will you do something that I ask you to do? And both of them said, yes, Baba. Then again, Baba said, and it's not going to be easy what I'm asking you to do. It's going to be very difficult. Will you still do it if I ask you to do it? And both of them said, yes, Baba. Are you absolutely sure? I said, yes, Baba. So 3 times Baba asked. So Baba said that take a brush and brush the baby's body with this brush all over the body and let the baby sleep after that. And everything that's touched the baby's body, whether it's the blanket or the covering, the cloth or whatever is touched, burn everything. Everything should be burned and let the child sleep overnight. So there was an aunt of mine who, my mother didn't have the heart to do this, so my aunt was asked to do it, and she scrubbed my body and I bled profusely. And I went to sleep, and my father would come every few minutes and put his hand on my nose to make sure that I was breathing, because this was a very drastic remedy that had been recommended to them. And they did. Their faith helped them do it. And then I slept throughout the night and then got up in the morning and I was fine. The skin ailment had left me after some time, and I've never had a recurrence of that skin ailment ever again. So I don't believe it's the brushing of my body that was as a result of what eventually happened, but it was the obedience of it. And that was the important thing. As I was telling Laurent earlier, that I met Baba in 1946, and I was there at his tomb in 1969 when his body was in the crypt. In all these years, and in all my meetings with Meher Baba, there was never a moment or an instant I remember that did not have a spiritual significance or a divine lesson to be learned. So every instant, every word that Meher Baba uttered, I'll go back and forth in telling you stories which may have a relationship. For example, in 1965, May 4th, when I went to see him, it was my day in that sense, that the entire morning was dedicated to my being with Baba at his feet, and I'll narrate that later on. But just in connection to what I had said, that nothing was insignificant in what he talked, as soon as I walked in, after a long journey, he asked me, did I sleep well? And I said, no, Baba, I did not sleep well because I was anxious to meet you. And his next question was, did you move your bowels? Now, this is the question that he did not ask everyone, but he asked me, because I used to suffer from severe gastric issues and constipation. And he asked me that question, and I said, no, Baba. So he says, do you suffer from constipation? And I said, yes, Baba. So he clapped, and Gohar came out. And then he said something to Gohar, and Gohar went away and came back an hour later and said, Baba, I have arranged for Naosherwan to get a full physical the next morning at 9 o'clock with Dr. Grant. Now, I had never had a physical before that, but he asked me that question and decided that I should get a physical. But before that, he also asked me whether I took castor oil, which I didn't like at all. And then Baba gave me instructions that for 6 months I should take Triphala. Triphala is a Ayurvedic powder that you take every day to relieve. And I took that for 6 months and it helped me. So I was just trying to tell you that nothing was insignificant where it came to Meher Baba.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad.
Yes, because, and I'd like you, as I'm narrating these stories, I'd like each one of you to deduce what lesson you've learned from my narration of my story. In fact, I've seen in the stories of others as well who've narrated, or Irish or Mani or anybody narrating stories, that there was never an instance that was frivolous. It always was meaningful and had a divine purpose.
Yep. Okay. I want to move through a few more questions, and I also want to save time for the audience to also ask questions. But I do have a few more points I want to make sure that we cover, Naosherwan. So, where did this original inspiration come from for you and with Baba to create a magazine, which of course became The Glow? Where did that all, originate?
Where did it originate?
Yeah,
Well,
did you have some inspiration? Like you woke up one morning and said, I want to create a magazine for Baba, or what happened there?
No. I was working as a journalist in Dehradun while studying. While doing my postgraduate studies, I was also working as a journalist and writing articles. I had a column. And and I also used to write Urdu poetry and participate in Urdu poetry sessions and so forth in my college. And so that's when when you start writing poems in Urdu, as Meher Baba did, his takhallus or nom de plume was Huma. And my nom de plume was Anzar, which was the plural of Nazar. Nazar means see, and Anzar was the plural of that. And of course, in the later years, the Mandli and everybody called me Anzar. So I adopted that name, but I'll have to backtrack to how I came to start the magazine. In 1965, I would have to give you quite a bit of preamble in order to
Good. Do it.
to tell you how I started the Glow. So I was invited. So I had a bit of a rough time as a teenager, which I will perhaps tell you later what the rough patch was that Baba helped me overcome. So I saw an advertisement in the Times of India that there was that they were planning to hold the Third World Religions Conference in New Delhi. And I had already gone through a bit of turmoil with my relation with Meher Baba and my going through a period of severe spiritual agony and so forth. That's a story by itself. That I I told my father that I wanted to attend the Third World Religions Conference. So my father said, and you had to give them, all you had to do was to give them a subject, and 100 rupees was the fee to attend the conference as a speaker. So I asked my father, and my father said, if Baba permits you, go ahead. So I wrote to Baba, and Baba said, absolutely, go ahead and participate in the conference. So I sent off 100 rupees. And they also wanted a subject. But I did not want them to know that I was a teenager, I was a youngster. So I came up with a subject called Supervening Powers of Faith in the Evolution of World Peace, which meant practically nothing. But I wanted to, give them a bit of a heavy dose of what I could present. So when my letter reached them, they saw world peace. And the way the Third World Religions Conference was compartmentalized was subject-wise, theme-wise. So I was put under world peace, and then there were other subjects as well. And they asked me to speak for 45 minutes. And and this was in Delhi at the Ramlila grounds. I mean, to give you an idea, like 5 football fields large, or even larger. That's where the Prime Minister gives his talk, his Republic Day address, and millions of people come to hear him speak. So this was a big event, and I went there to Delhi, and I was put up by a Bible lover who had a house in the president's estate. And when I landed there, I found there were 3-4 other Bible speakers as well, all with different subjects. There was G.S.N. Murthy and C.D. Deshmukh and some others. But I was so grooved in mugging up my speech that I did not pay attention to anything. That morning, when I had to go to the Ramlila grounds, Baba, a cable came for me. I am with you at the Third World Religions Conference, Mayor Baba. Cable came. What can go wrong? Everything would be tickety-boo. But so I went to the conference, and I was overwhelmed to see hundreds and thousands of people. I had not given a talk to 20 people, and here I was speaking to hundreds and thousands of them. And there were 3 people who had organized this conference. There was Muni Sushil Kumar. There are 2 sects of the Jains, Swetambar and Digambar. One of them, they wear masks so that insects or mosquitoes don't go into their mouth. And then there is the other one, they don't wear any clothes, they walk around naked. And the women also just cover themselves with one sari. So they were the organizers. But the secretary was a man called Baron Frary von Blomberg. And along with him was Sant Kirpal Singh, who is very well known as a spiritual master. He came to see Baba a couple of times. So these were the organizers of this conference. So I went there, and I was on the first day, I was seated on the rostrum, and they had designated, and it was written World Peace on one side, and that was the theme for that section. And there was a theme for another section, and Kirpal Singh and Muni Sushil Kumar and others sat in front, and that was the setting of the stage. And then my name was announced to speak. So there was a microphone and the sea of people in front of me, hundreds and hundreds of people. So the way I had tailored my speech was Zoroaster on world peace. I had done an incredible amount of research. Ram on world peace. Krishna on world peace. Zoroaster, I said that. Buddha and Muhammad on world peace. And Jesus on world peace. And I uttered all these names and their messages on world peace. And now in our midst, we have the king of world peace, Avatar Meher Baba. And the moment I uttered Baba's name, two people from either side jumped me physically and asked me to sit down and started pulling my legs. I became flustered. I forgot my speech. At that moment, Sant Kirpal Singh turns to these men and says, "Let the young man speak." So they all slithered away. But by the time I'd completely forgotten my speech. But Baba had sent me that cable in the morning. So I stood in front of my mic and I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have just uttered the name of Avatar Meher Baba. And these people have attacked me, assaulted me. If you say so, I will sit down. But if you say so, I said it in a real demagogic fashion, but if you say so, I will continue speaking." And there was a roar from the audience. "We want Meher Baba. We want Meher Baba." And I just figured Baba had planted these people there. So it was, I just spoke about Baba and a little bit about what I had prepared. And then Sant Kirpal Singh came and said, called me to himself and said, "You, young man, you have a lot of work to do in the future." And I said, "Yes, Santji," and that was that. And then that evening, I was invited to speak at a Zoroastrian, I was invited to a Zoroastrian meeting where the head priest of the Zoroastrians had come. Now, the history of the Zoroastrians has been that they were always opposed to Meher Baba since he had announced it, since he had said that he was the same ancient one as Zoroaster, as Ram, and so forth. So the Zoroastrians always had this beef with Meher Baba. So I went there and he spoke, the head priest of the Zoroastrians spoke. And then they asked me to say a few words. And I said, give impressions of the conference. And I just said, I uttered Meher Baba's name. And I said, I came to speak about Meher Baba. And the head priest of the Zoroastrians said he had never been so insulted in his life, and he staged a walkout. So these were the training that Meher Baba was giving me. And I must confess that this experience was such that I've been to all kinds of gatherings, Sahavas, meetings to various different people, and there's never been an iota of fear uttering Meher Baba's name or talking about him. Never. And I was at the University of California, and they tried to insult me. They tried to say negative things about Baba. I was able to have a smooth sailing. So I had had several different encounters like this. And Baba has always stood by.
Well, that's a good segue to my next question. Can I move on to the next one?
Yes, I was going to talk about how I started the Glow, because it was then my meeting with Baba, because he called me soon after the Third World Religions Conference. And he called me to Pune, and I went there and I talked to him, spent time with him. That was a significant meeting. And then, but I have to narrate this because you had also asked me to narrate this. So this is the crust of our evening, the crux of our evening. So I went to see Baba. Even if you don't hear the other things, you've got to hear this carefully. So I went to see Baba, and he had asked me to come in the afternoon. He was seated on a chair, bare-bodied, with a short culottes, and it was over 100 degrees temperature. And I went and I embraced him, I kissed him. I bowed down and I kissed his feet. And I sat down at his feet. And then he asked me, and then that's when I saw Erich. I did not see anyone else, but the Mandli was seated against the wall. And I said, and Erich said, Baba would like you to tell everything that you experienced in Delhi at the Third World Religions Conference and the meeting with the high priest and the Zoroastrians. So I started narrating in great detail. And Baba had this habit of interrupting you. So I started narrating and he would turn to somebody and says, do you love me? And the person would say, yes, Baba. And Baba would say, tell me, go ahead, continue. And again, I would continue very animatedly. And then he would turn to somebody and say, do you love me? And then Baba would say, continue. I would stop and he would say, continue. And then he asked me, do you love me? And I said, yes, Baba. And he said, continue. Then he would, again, I was narrating, and then he turns to somebody and says, do you accept me as God? And he said, yes, Baba. And Baba, I stopped and he said, continue. Then he turns to somebody, says in Persian, he asked, do you accept me as God? And he says, Darim Sheshak, and that means, yes, Baba, absolutely, in Persian. So all this was going on, and not expecting that Baba would ask me anything. So I was coming to the end of my narration when Baba turns to me and says, do you accept me as God in human form? And I say, yes, Baba, absolutely. And at that moment, he does something to Erich, and Erich says, Baba says that he wants you to tell the world that he's God in human form. And then he clapped. And Gohar walked out. And Gohar walked out, and as if to seal the mandate that Meher Baba had just given me, she handed him a small box, which he opened and took out this medallion with Baba on one side and mastery in servitude with the emblems on the other. Now, spiritual masters do this. When they give a mandate to anyone of such tremendous importance, and as far as I know, in all these years, I have never, ever heard anyone tell me that they have been given the mandate to tell the world that Meher Baba is God in human form. They usually seal it with a gift of a blanket or something that belongs to them, or an outfit of theirs, or a kurta or something. Spiritual masters give it to whoever they give a mandate to. In this case, Baba gave me this to seal the mandate that he had just given me. And then it did not strike me as something monumental at that moment. It was just something that Baba had said. It didn't hit me that hard. It only hit me after I went home. But Baba never instructed you or told you to do anything that you could not handle, that you could not do. He did not order you to do anything for which you did not have the capacity or the capability. He knew, but I didn't. So I sit down, I'm still there, sitting at his feet, and he turns to me and he says, Erich had sent me instructions not to ask Baba any questions. But because so many questions were asked at the Third World Religions Conference and also at the Zoroastrian meeting, there was one question that they repeatedly asked me, especially the Parsis, and that kept bothering me. And I said, if I can ask Baba this question, it would be wonderful. So the question was on the top of my head. But Erich had told me, don't ask any questions. This is not the time for questions. Suddenly, Baba turns to me and says, were you able to, did anybody ask you any questions? I said, yes, Baba. By your grace, they asked me a lot of questions. And by your grace, I was able to answer all of them, except one. And immediately Baba said, what's the question? And I said, Baba, several people asked me, how can Meher Baba say that he is God in human form? How can he say that? So Baba, he kind of gave the impression to me that, oh, what a simple question. But then he became very solemn and very serious. And he said, Naosherwan, you are God in human form. Erich here is God in human form. Francis is God in human form. I am God in human form. But each one of you are unconscious of your divinity. My job is to make each one of you conscious of your divinity. And how do I do that? I give you the gift of conviction. I give you the gift of conviction. And all of you are here on the Zoom today because he's given you the gift of conviction in his divinity. So then then the rest of the day was spent with some Iranis who had come to see him. And he instructed me to read God Speaks 3 times, particularly the section on Yaqeen, Ilmul Yaqeen, Haklul Yaqeen, which you're familiar with. Yaqeen means conviction. Then I went back to Dehradun and I gathered my friends around me, my other Baba lovers, and I asked them that this is what Baba has asked of me. He wants me to tell the world that he's God in human form. How should I? What do you have any thoughts? And all in unison they said, "You're a journalist. You're a writer. The only way to do it is to do a magazine. But nobody has the money to do it." So they said, "Look, this is the anniversary of Baba's 1953 visit. So why don't we do a kind of a commemorative issue on Baba's visit to Dehradun, the people he met, the dialogues he had with people, the questions that people asked?" I said, that would be a cinch. I'd be happy to do it. My mother said she would give 200 rupees. Another Baba lover gave 200 rupees, which was something like $2.50 each. So with a little bit of money, we put together a publication called The Spark. We gave it a name. We had Baba's picture on it. It was a tabloid. And it featured everything on Dehradun, the people who met Baba and the questions they asked Baba, and there were diaries and so forth. And there was a birthday poem by Francis Brabazon and so forth. So we had the first issue of The Spark. And then lots of people liked it. They loved it. They said, "You've got to continue with this. And we're going to put up money." I sent copies of The Spark to Murshid Ivy News, sent to Elizabeth Patterson and to Kitty Davy. And they said, "Oh, we'll raise subscriptions for you if you plan to continue with the magazine." And they did. So gradually, we started The Spark. But But when I tried to register the Spark with the county, they said, oh, no, you can't use the name Spark because there's already a magazine by that name. So then it started about what title should I give. So I gave the title The Glow, and Francis Brabazon gave a title called In the Flow, and then somebody else gave another title, The Focus, or something like that. So 3 titles were given, and Baba selected The Glow and sent me a cable saying, my nazar is on The Glow.
That's a beautiful story. That's a beautiful story.
That's how The Glow started.
All right, I'm going to ask you one more question, then I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful guests and allow them to ask questions, because I feel there's so many. I'm sure there's going to be tons of questions. And I love your stories, Naosherwan. We could do this all night long. This one's very close to my heart, this question. I know that you had a very practical life. You were at the Times of India. You told me once about that conversation with Baba about your job offers and all that. I know you were at some point at the United Nations, and I know that you've read God Speaks. And so in God Speaks, there's a line, I shall bring about a happy blending of the head and the heart. Right. And I'm wondering how, you know, Don and I used to talk about this all the time also, right? You know, Don was big on blending the head and the heart. So how does this integration of the spiritual life and the practical life and the blending of the head and the heart, how does that relate to your life with Baba? And then I'll open it up to others.
Well, it was one of the simplest things for me because Baba had already given me the mandate. And those who know me know that nobody walks away from me without hearing the name Meher Baba, ever. So when I was in the Times of India, and this is a little bit of a funny story, when I was in the Times of India, somebody from the United States sent me a form to fill up for a community directory. And it said, what's your name, this, that, and the other. And it says, what's your belief? And in that, under belief, I wrote, I believe in the free interplay of love from heart to heart, which was a quote from Baba. So I wrote that and I sent it off. As it turned out, the directory was a hippie directory. And as luck would have it, the New York Times decided to review the directory and pulled out just my entry in the directory and blew it up along with the story. And it came to the attention of Elizabeth Patterson. And she wrote to me saying, very gently, very politely, that I guess you don't know what it means, the free interplay of love from heart to heart, but a lot of people have misunderstood that from us and think it's from a sexual standpoint. So I had a laugh and it was all forgotten. But the upshot of it was that people started coming to the Times of India because I was offering them free food and spiritual advice about Meher Baba. So people started coming and I would keep on telling them about Meher Baba from time to time, and I would give them very inexpensive lunches. So this is what happened in the Times of India. Then my next job was Air India. And in Air India, they discovered that hordes of people were coming on Air India. And they called themselves Baba lovers. And I was working in the public relations department. So I went to my boss and I said, sir, the Baba lovers who are coming in 747s packed with travelers, followers of Meher Baba, don't have a directory. So the boss said, go ahead and write one. So I wrote up a whole booklet, which Air India published, with Meher Baba's picture on the cover with his alphabet board, and details about what to do in India, places to visit in Dehradun, and various different places associated with Meher Baba. And this was freely distributed all over the place. And this was another Baba picture in Air India. And of course, Air India was very liberal. I had a huge photograph of Baba behind me. So anybody who walked in, they'd say, Meher Baba, I know about him. Somebody would say, who is that man? Is he your grandfather? So once a whole group of Hare Ram, Hare Krishna followers turned up, asking me for donations. And they came and said, oh, we know Meher Baba. Our spiritual master has told us about Meher Baba. So we always had an interaction with people walking in. So that was part 2. Then part 3 was the United Nations. So United Nations, I was focused primarily on climate change. My job was mainly working on climate change issues. So we had groups of people from universities coming in, and I would give them on the spiritual aspects of climate change. I would give them talks. And there I would talk about Meher Baba. So it was always Meher Baba in some shape or form sharing with people. And I always found an angle or a hook to talk about.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. I love that. I love those stories. Thank you so much. Now, I'm going to ask people not to all talk at once, but to use the reactions to raise your hand. There should be something about raising your hand in reactions. Who would like to ask Naosherwan a question? Let's take turns. I know somebody's going to raise their hand. Okay, I saw Jack and Ben first. So Jack, Ben, and then Nazan.
All right, my question is going to be short and sweet. I'm wondering if you could tell us something about what it was like to look at Baba. What did he look like? What emotions did that evoke just to get to be around him and look at him?
Yes. Yes. This is a very important question. When you came in Meher Baba's presence, nothing and no one mattered. You did not even know there were other people in the room. So I met Meher Baba at different periods of my life. When I was 7 years old, in 1953, I was spending a lot of time with him. Went and had breakfast with him on 7th of September, 1953, on Zoroaster's birthday, and did a lot of things as we went along. Then in 1962, at the East-West gathering, there were about 10,000 people at this gathering, and they were divided into states. And I was in Uttar Pradesh, and I was sitting, Uttar Pradesh is a state in India. That's where I come from. That's where Dehradun is. And this thought, as Baba started coming out, when I saw him 4 or 5 years back in 65, I saw him as a, still he was agile. And this time when I saw him, he was heavy set and very old, and 2 people brought him out. And of course, 10,000 people shouted, Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. And my hair stood on edge, and tears were flowing from my eyes. I looked around, and tears were flowing from everybody's eyes. See, Meher Baba had that majesty. He had that grandeur, that he could reach out to everyone's heart and bring about a transformation of consciousness. This was his ability. This was his job. This was his task. And he succeeded 200% in doing so. Nobody could be in his presence or see him and dismiss him. He was the greatest human being you could ever see in your life. So this thought crossed my mind. It's been 5 years now. Will he remember me? The moment this thought crossed my mind, Era Jisawala is on the microphone. Baba wants Naosherwan to come to the stage. Read my mind straight away. I rushed, I sat down. I embraced him. I kissed him. Now, when you embrace Meher Baba, despite the fact that the Mandli say, take it easy, he would crush you in his arms. It was the embrace of a man. But when you kissed him, it was the tenderness, the gentleness, the sweetness of a woman. And then the smell, the perfume that exuded from his body, from his face, was exceptional. You couldn't put your finger on it. It was like, some people said it was musk. No one could say that this is the perfume that Baba applies. And one day, somebody said, oh, Baba really applies a lot of perfume. And Adi Irani chided the person. Meher Baba never applies perfume. So it was like that. So
Incredible answer.
Yeah, thank you so much.
that was the feeling. And my mother, during the 1962 gathering, she was asked to stand at a certain place at the edge of the... Throughout the day, she would be staring at him. She would be staring at Meher Baba. And the beauty of Meher Baba's face was that his face kept turning all the time. In 65, after I finished my morning meeting with Meher Baba and I sat at the back, I tried one of my tricks. I tried to lock my eyes with Meher Baba, and I just could not. His eyes were constantly moving left and right. His face was moving, his fingers were moving. And he was very pathetic, constantly moving. So there was a second person.
Yeah, Ben and then Nazan.
Oh, there we go. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you so much, Nash. This has been, I could listen to you all night long, and I really can tell how the mandate it flows through you, and how that energizes you. And it's very, very inspiring. And I've heard so much. I'm already looking forward to watching this again. So thank you for sharing. It's been really beautiful. I'm curious, you mentioned something about maybe a struggle with Baba when you were a teen.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
We have the time, Laurent? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had exactly the same question, so take your time.
So, Meher Baba spent 1 year in Dehradun, an entire year. 1953, he came from the United States. In 52, it came straight to Dehradun in 53. He was there for the whole year. That is the year when I came closest to Meher Baba. Very, very close. He would ask me to come. My sister used to sing songs at that time, learning how to sing Indian music. She would sing, I would play the tabla or the drums on the table. And anytime you said something, you recited a poem to him or sang a song, he would give you a gift. He gave me so many gifts, which I have them on display at the Meher Baba Museum in Beloved Archives. So he left in November of 1953, and I don't know how others took it, but I took it very, very badly. And I could not concentrate on my studies. I could not focus on anything at all. My parents were very worried. I became depressed, writing poems to Meher Baba every single day and mailing them to him because I wanted him to send me a cable. So it was Meher Baba morning and evening till I reached a point where I was kind of a little unhinged, spiritually speaking, and my parents were very worried. I would bang my head against the wall. I would feel cold when it was hot and vice versa. And at one point, I decided that I would renounce the world. And I would go to Mirzad and live with Meher Baba. Now, this was a huge decision. First, I did not tell anybody. I went and bought tickets to Ahmednagar. But
how old were you then?
This was in 19... I'm trying to recollect, but it was, I think, 1967, 68. No, it was 65, 66. So I was about 20 at that time, 1920. And about 20, yeah. So I wrote to Meher Baba with a letter with tears on them saying that I was coming. And my father was a strict person. I never really shared everything with him, so I did not tell him anything. But I did mention it to my mother that this is what I plan to do. And she was in complete shock. But my mother was a very practical woman. She turned to me and she said, I'm very happy that you're going to be with Meher Baba. But what if he turns you away? What are you going to do then? What if he says, no, you can't? And being a youngster, being a teenager, I had all these fanciful thoughts and ideas. And I said, oh, I'll build a hut outside Mirzad in the fields and stay there, or I will go around, or some strange, weird things I mentioned to my mother. But my mother took this very seriously. She went to the post office, she made friends with the postmaster, and started inundating Meher Baba with cables. And those days, cables were not cheap. She would send cables that were letters because she was worried that her son would take a step that would be deleterious to him, possibly. So, and at this moment, I had decided that I would disobey Meher Baba. I would not obey him. So, when my letter reached Meher Baba and my mother's cables reached Meher Baba, I got a cable from Meher Baba. Renounce nothing but your present attitude. Letter follows. Mir Baba always sent a cable and then followed it up with a letter. Renounce nothing but your present attitude. Well, it was a cable, and I said, I'm going. So the letter came, but I was going, and my mother said, do one thing. Don't go till you receive the letter. At least wait for the letter. It took a few days for the letter to come. And in that, the letter said, for spiritual aspirants, renunciation is of help. But those who love the avatar and are under his direct guidance do not have to renounce in inverted commas, anything. The lovers of the avatar have simply to obey the avatar's instructions and to love him wholeheartedly. But I said, I'm going. I'm not going to obey Baba's instructions. My mother at that time was so concerned about my state of mind that she felt that if I traveled by train or something like that, I could be led astray by some Mahatmas or yogis or some ashrams or some fake gurus or something like that. So she wrote that to Baba, that Naosherwan is in such a depressed state that he just simply, his goal is to come and be with you, that I'm concerned that he might be led astray. So Baba sends me a cable this time. Don't be led astray by any Tom, Dick, Harry of a spiritual master. Beware of such cheap experiences and spiritual stunts of spiritual clown. The world will know who I am when I break my silence. And then you too will realize my infinite love for you and my lovers. But I said, I'm going. I was also concerned about the tickets that I had bought. And, you know, that kind of thing, childishness.
This is one of my favorite stories ever.
Then Mir Baba didn't take it easy on me. He came with a hammer and tongs. And he said, to obey the God-man is the highest form of worship to God in human form. Obey me implicitly if one day you want to know me as I am. Then I just decided that I would not go. And my mother was relieved, and she narrated it to my father, and he, of course, didn't know very much what was going on. But then I wrote to Baba that, well, if I can't come, the least I could do is keep silence the way you have kept silence. These are the shenanigans of teenage boys and girls. So Baba wrote back promptly, do not observe prolonged silence. Do not serve yourself by doing so. You who lead a dedicated life in my cause have no need for such discipline. You are close to me and you are very dear to me. I know how you strive to be merged in my love. I want you not to strive for this. He underlined strive 3 times. But to allow your dear love to flow freely to me in its natural course. Know one most important thing in the spiritual line, and that is that no amount of your striving to reach me could transport you to me. Simplest thing for you to do is to just love me in the most natural way, as a child would love his mother, and carry out anything I, on my own, command you to do. on my own, underline 3 times, command you to do. And then the most difficult order that I had a very, very hard time keeping was keep cheerful and happy in my love. Because my mother was on my case. Baba said, be cheerful. You're disobeying him. Baba said, be cheerful, be happy. You're disobeying him. So I then continued with my studies and just barely, I did well in my exams and so forth because Baba gave strict instructions. Obey your parents, continue with your studies, and keep repeating my name all the time. And that was how Baba saved me from possibly total spiritual disaster.
That's incredible, Naosherwan. That's an incredible story.
I love it so much. Thank you. Oh my goodness. And you know, real quick, just a couple of things I thought about as you were talking. Oh, real quick question also. You were reading from your book, right?
No, I was reading from a little booklet that I had printed called The Signal, in which I feature, you know, I used to print a book on Meher Baba every few months and send it to him, just so that he could sign it and send it back to me. So I had printed this called The Signal, and this carried a poem that I had written called The Temple of Life. It was divided, it was in 3-4 parts. And at the end of it, I had written Meher Baba's words to Naosherwan. So that's how this one was.
Put it in front of your face so we, oh, okay. We can't see it because of the
Yeah,
background.
this was the cover.
Uh-oh. It's not working because of the background. Oh, there we go.
Okay, this was the signal. And then
Cool.
these were some quotes of Baba from the letters that he wrote to me.
And his signature's on there?
No, not on this one. No.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get
I-
copies of that book?
Yeah, sure. I would have to make copies
No,
because
you don't sell it. It's not available.
no. None of these copies are the master's things, which was Ghazals of Meher Baba, and the glass pearl is on the untold LSD story.
Well,
Based
now
on,
that we're talking about books, are you really going to do the Gandhi and Meher Baba book, or where is that at?
well, the environment in India is such at the moment that any such subject would be detrimental to the trust. So I received a request to hold off for now. I've already featured it in this book, Baba's Meeting with Gandhi, which all of you should have a copy, which is called Living the Awakened Life with Meher Baba from 50 Years of Glow International. And I'm working on another book that will probably have a more extensive account of Baba's meetings with Meher Baba, which at the moment I've tentatively titled Meher Baba Diaries, because a lot of the material from Baba Gandhi are from diaries. So
Yeah.
to make it a little gentler for the trust.
Okay, so it's sort of on hold, basically.
The book that I was planning was called, the title of the book was Freedom in Silence, because they met on a day when Gandhi was keeping silence and Baba was already silent. And the subtitle was How Meher Baba, how Meher Baba taught something like how Meher Baba taught Gandhi about the freedom of India, or something to that effect. So that title, that cover will not, I won't do that, but the content of the book will be there in another book.
Okay, okay. So then I always end with the same kind of thing, which is that, Naosherwan, we have beautiful guests, 20 guests. It was wonderful. I loved everything you shared. There are going to be people who are only seeing this after today in the future. They come to the video who knows where anybody will be in the future. What do you say to those people? You have a few minutes or however long you want just to be free, be yourself. What do you say to anybody who might come to this later?
What I would like to say to each one of you and to those who would come in the future is this mandate that Meher Baba gave me was not only to me. Meher Baba gave this mandate to each one of you. It's not only your joy to follow Meher Baba, to hold on to his daman. He also gave you a duty, which also would you term it as your right, to share Meher Baba's message with everyone you meet, at least his name with everyone you meet. Share it with them. Let them know about his presence. Let them know that the avatar has taken birth and that he awakens the consciousness of each one of them. He not only awakens the consciousness, but he gives them the conviction. And he not only gives them the conviction, but he helps you to rely wholly and solely on him. Who else are you going to rely on? You have to rely wholly and solely on him. And to do this, you must love God, love Meher Baba, and repeat his name all the time. And it is for this reason that we launched the Glow. Next year is the 68th anniversary of the Glow. It'll also be the year when we convert from print to digital. Henceforth, from 2026 spring issue, all the issues will be henceforth digital, not print. And we've reduced it to 50%, $30 for 2 years. I would encourage each one of you to gift a digital subscription of the Glow to your friends, to your neighbors, to your relatives, so that they can learn about Meher Baba's life, work, and teachings.
So
That
beautiful.
is the purpose of Meher Baba's advent.
So beautiful.
Jai
Avatar Meher Baba
Meher Baba
ki
ki
jai.
jai.
Avatar Meher
Meher
Baba ki
Baba
jai.
ki jai.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Naosherwan. That was
Thank you.
absolutely incredible.
If anyone wants to write to me, feel free to write at nosh.nalavala@gmail.com.